the start and end of both world wars, the lifting of the Great Depression, the death of 2 U.S. presidents. Edgar Cayce predicted all of these events.
Edgar Cayce, often referred to as the Sleeping Prophet, was a renowned American mystic known for his extraordinary ability to provide psychic readings while in a trance-like state. In 2024, his predictions continue to fascinate and shock people. From forecasting political trouble and environmental catastrophes to foretelling personal tragedies and even individual deaths, Cayce's visions offer an interesting glimpse into potential future events. As we navigate the complexities of this year, one can't help but wonder, could Cayce's predictions hold the key to understanding and perhaps even altering our destiny? Early life. Born in 1877, Edgar Cayce wasn't your typical child. Unlike others who revealed in play, young Edgar delved into the Bible's mysteries. He'd pore over its ancient texts, sometimes venturing into the Kentucky woods to study. During these early years, Edgar claimed encounters with unusual beings. First, there were fairy-like creatures, seemingly more spiritual than human. Then, at the tender age of 11, a winged woman appeared in a vision, asking what he desired most. His response might surprise you. Unlike wishes for wealth or power, Edgar yearned to help others, especially sick children. This encounter marked a turning point, but it wouldn't be his last with the winged woman. School, however, proved challenging for Edgar. His grades worried his family, particularly his father. One instance stands out. After a scolding about his performance, Edgar felt dejected. Lying down, he somehow heard the familiar voice of the winged woman again. This time, she instructed him to sleep with his textbooks beneath his head. Remarkably, upon waking, Edgar could recall everything he'd read. Another incident showcased Edgar's emerging abilities. A schoolyard accident left him with a debilitating back injury. Unable to move, his family feared the worst. Then, one night, in a half-conscious state, Edgar spoke of a herbal remedy. Desperate, his parents tried it. Miraculously, Edgar woke up fully healed the next day, as if nothing had happened. These experiences hinted at extraordinary talents that would soon unfold dramatically. Driven by his desire to help and newfound confidence, Edgar Cayce began offering psychic readings. Unlike his prophetic contemporaries, Edgar's pronouncements covered a vast landscape, from health and wellness to spirituality, past lives to ancient civilizations, and even future technologies. The Sleeping Prophet's insights knew no bounds. Now get ready for the craziest part: fulfilled prophecies. In 1902, a young girl with a severe head injury was brought to him. Doctors held little hope for her survival. However, Edgar pinpointed the actual problem: a misaligned spine, not her brain. He described her body with medical precision, even using terminology that doctors recognized. This was just the beginning of Edgar Cayce's remarkable journey, filled with fulfilled prophecies and a unique approach to psychic readings. Edgar Cayce's reputation wasn't built solely on medical pronouncements. The Sleeping Prophet demonstrated an uncanny ability to foresee economic trends. In 1929, on the precipice of the infamous stock market crash, Cayce had a premonition. He advised his friends to offload their stocks, and those who heeded his warning were spared financial ruin. Word of his economic clairvoyance spread, and people began peppering him with questions about the stock market and horse races, hoping to profit from his insights. Remarkably, his predictions often proved accurate, even hinting at an economic upswing by 1933, which indeed came to pass. His prophetic abilities extended to the political sphere as well. In 1934, Cayce proclaimed Hitler's rise as a powerful figure in Germany, a prediction that materialized later that year. However, his pronouncements weren't all doom and gloom. Cayce also foresaw the impermanence of Hitler's reign, predicting a war from outside Germany that would dismantle his empire. This too bore an eerie resemblance to reality. World War II erupted in Europe, ultimately leading to Hitler's downfall. With uncanny precision, Cayce even pinpointed the alliance between Germany, Austria, and Japan, stating that without divine intervention, the whole world will be set on fire. The war, as he envisioned, would engulf numerous countries, and the US wouldn't remain on the sidelines. By 1941, these predictions had unfolded with unsettling accuracy. But Cayce's predictions weren't limited to current events. In 1938, he hinted at the existence of submerged ruins from an ancient civilization near Bimini in the Bahamas. He believed this lost city was Atlantis, a technologically advanced society from the distant past. Cayce envisioned Atlantis as a vast continent swallowed by the Atlantic Ocean roughly 10,000 years ago due to a catastrophic flood. Interestingly, some underwater stones were discovered near Bimini in 1968, findings that some researchers interpret as potential evidence supporting Cayce's theories. These stones, along with his other seemingly accurate predictions, continue to fuel debate and intrigue surrounding Edgar Cayce, the enigmatic sleeping prophet. Did the Bimini stones connect to the biblical flood? That's a question that continues to spark debate. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Beyond Atlantis, Edgar Cayce's prophetic pronouncements ventured even further into the future. One of his most captivating predictions centered on the 44th President of the United States. Cayce boldly declared this leader would be African American, a prediction that materialized with Barack Obama's historic election. Death, too, wasn't beyond Cayce's mind. He foresaw the passing of Presidents John F. Kennedy and Franklin D. Roosevelt. Looking inwards, Cayce also predicted social unrest in the U.S. during the 1960s, with civil rights and racial tensions fueling the flames. The Cold War's grip on the world didn't escape Cayce's prophetic gaze. During the peak of the Soviet Union's power, he made a seemingly outlandish claim. From Russia comes the hope of the world, not in the context of communism but of freedom. He believed this hope would blossom slowly, but Russia would ultimately break free from its communist shackles. Remarkably, the Soviet Union's dissolution and abandonment of communism in 1991 mirrored Cayce's vision with unsettling accuracy. Another example of Cayce's uncanny foresight involves the secretive Jewish sect, the Essenes. In 1934, when little was known about them, Cayce provided detailed descriptions of the sect, which were later confirmed to be remarkably accurate. He even predicted the discovery of their records and documents just 12 years later. In 1946, the Dead Sea Scrolls, penned by the Essenes, were unearthed, lending significant credence to Cayce's claims. The 20th century witnessed the fulfillment of many of Edgar Cayce's predictions, some grim, some offering a glimmer of hope. But what about the future? Did he leave behind any unsettling prophecies for our times? We'll delve into that next. Predictions about the future. Edgar Cayce envisioned dramatic transformations for Earth's geography. Continents, according to him, would undergo a massive shift, and the climate would morph into something beyond our wildest imaginations. He even suggested this shift could happen all at once, triggered by simultaneous eruptions of Mount Etna in Italy and Mount Pelée in Martinique. Both volcanoes are active, with Mount Etna being one of the most restless on Earth. It even erupted recently. One key aspect of this upheaval would play out in Africa. Cayce predicted a continental split, creating 3 distinct landmasses. This division, he claimed, would be caused by a giant new waterway forming as the Nile River widened significantly and the Red Sea grew considerably. This dramatic change could even submerge the bustling city of Cairo beneath the waves. Asia wouldn't escape this destruction either. Imagine a completely altered map. India, China, Japan, Korea, and the Philippines wouldn't be recognizable. The Pacific Ocean, in Cayce's vision, would surge forward, swallowing vast swathes of land from the Philippines to Japan. This watery invasion would submerge most of Japan, leaving only a few scattered islands. The Korean peninsula and parts of China's coastline would also succumb to the rising seas. For India, Cayce offered a specific warning. He advised against seeking refuge in the higher elevations due to the possibility of land buckling. Instead, he believed the Himalayas, spanning Tibet and Nepal, would be a safer haven for Indians. Even Antarctica, despite its harsh beauty and critical role in wildlife habitats, wouldn't be spared in Cayce's vision. He predicted a drastic transformation. The icy continent would shed its frosty coat and morph into a lush, green expanse, ideal only for agriculture. This shift, while potentially good for crops, would undoubtedly disrupt the delicate ecosystem that currently supports penguins, seals, whales, and countless seabirds. While some continents might find refuge, Edgar Cayce's predictions weren't all sunshine and rainbows for land masses. Australia, for instance, wouldn't be as fortunate. Floods, according to Cayce, would claim a quarter of its land, submerging Adelaide and ironically transforming its arid deserts like Simpson and Gibson into fertile farmlands. New Zealand, on the other hand, seemed to escape unscathed. In fact, Cayce envisioned it expanding, even connecting with Australia to become a haven for those displaced by global upheavals. Europe, too, wouldn't be immune to geographical disruption. Cayce foresaw a significant portion of Northern Europe, including Norway, Sweden, Finland, and Denmark, submerged, leaving behind a fragmented archipelago of islands. The United Kingdom wouldn't fare much better, with vast areas from Scotland down to the English Channel succumbing to rising seas. However, there might be a glimmer of hope. Cayce predicted some pockets of high ground, including London and Birmingham, might manage to cling to survival. Ireland, however, wouldn't be so lucky. Cayce envisioned it almost entirely swallowed by the ocean, with only the highest peaks remaining above the waterline. But wait, there's more. Ocean lovers, you'll be happy because the Earth's water is about to get a whole lot bigger. A new sea, formed by the merging of the Caspian, Black, and Baltic Seas, was predicted by Cayce. This massive waterway would effectively cut Russia from mainland Europe and stretch all the way to Siberia. Interestingly, this shift would position Russia as the food basket of Europe, with much of its land transformed into a fertile, agricultural powerhouse. If you haven't had enough of Continental Drift in Edgar Cayce's predictions, here's another doozy. He envisioned a complete change in the geography of North America. Canada, according to him, would see its coastline expand by a staggering 200 miles, transforming regions like Quebec, Ontario, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and parts of Alberta into safe havens for those displaced from Asia and Europe. The North American plate in his forecasts would shift, creating a chain of nearly 150 new islands off the coast of California. This seismic event would also see the West Coast migrate eastward towards Nebraska, Wyoming, and Colorado. But what about the Great Lakes? Cayce believed they wouldn't be spared either. They would merge into a single vast body of water, flowing from the Mississippi River to the Gulf of Mexico. The East Coast, unfortunately, wouldn't be so fortunate. So what did Cayce predict for this region next? Extensive flooding, according to Cayce, would devastate the entire coastline from Maine to Florida, submerging vast stretches of land. The woes wouldn't be limited to North America. Mexico's coasts, too, would suffer from this watery invasion, with rising seas claiming its shores. But wait, there's more. Get ready for a real shocker. Cayce predicted the Baja California Peninsula fracturing into a collection of islands, further isolating those unfortunate enough to be in the region. These dramatic changes, he warned, would displace and potentially kill billions of people. Even the quiet, rural lands of Kentucky wouldn't be immune to the coming devastation, according to Cayce. However, amidst the gloom, there was a glimmer of hope. Cayce also foresaw a dramatic extension of human lifespans, with people living for centuries. While we've certainly seen an increase in life expectancy compared to Cayce's era, living for hundreds of years seems like science fiction for now. Shifting gears from longevity to conflict, Cayce envisioned the Persian Gulf as the flashpoint for a major global war. Countries like Libya, Egypt, Syria, and even the waters near Australia would be embroiled in active hostilities. Thankfully, such a large-scale war hasn't unfolded yet. Perhaps one of Cayce's most intriguing predictions involved China. He envisioned it rising to a position of global leadership, even becoming the cradle of Christianity or a significant center for the religion. This transformation, he acknowledged, would take many generations, but China would ultimately become a dominant force in the Christian world. Cayce's claims weren't limited to the future. Oh no, he had some controversial opinions about where humans have come from. Predictions about human origins. We know now that Cayce predicted a westward to eastward movement of civilization, with China taking the lead. However, his most contentious claim involved the origins of humanity itself. Cayce believed that 5 distinct human races were created simultaneously at different locations on Earth. According to him, life began at the same time for these white, black, red, brown, and yellow races, strategically placed by God across the globe. The red people, in his view, were the Atlanteans who resided on a lost continent called Lemuria. He believed they evolved faster and developed technology at a swifter pace than any other race. Interestingly, Cayce also claimed that Native Americans, specifically the Cherokee people, were directly descended from this lost civilization of Atlantis. Contrary to traditional timelines, Edgar Cayce believed the Cherokee people had an even more ancient origin story. Their roots, according to him, stretched back 12,000 years, curiously coinciding with the supposed demise of Atlantis. Cayce envisioned these Atlantean survivors fleeing to the Americas and becoming the ancestors of the Cherokee and Inca civilizations. But Atlantis wasn't the only lost land in Cayce's worldview. Lemuria, another sunken continent believed to be situated between Europe and America, also played a role in his theories. He claimed people from Lemuria migrated to Greece and established the Minoan civilization. He even entertained the idea that these Lemurians might have shared their advanced engineering knowledge with the Egyptians at some point. Cayce's ideas about human evolution are about to challenge everything you thought you knew. He envisioned a continuous evolutionary march that began a staggering 18 million years ago. In his view, life itself emerged from the transformation of spirit into matter. Furthermore, he believed humanity experienced a significant evolutionary leap between 10,000 BC and 3000 BC, a period not acknowledged in traditional evolutionary timelines. Looking to the future, Cayce wasn't all doom and gloom. He prophesied a future brimming with human progress. According to him, a new phase of human advancement began in 3000 BC and is expected to continue until our current era, which is 2400 CE. This period, he believed, would be marked by significant leaps in our knowledge and understanding. But wait, there's more. Here comes the truly mind-bending prediction. Cayce envisioned a dramatic transformation around the year 8000. By then, humans would have transcended the limitations of our current minds, rendering traditional societal structures and even schools obsolete. In this future, humanity would evolve into a race of enlightened super beings. It's important to remember, however, that not all of Cayce's pronouncements were met with acclaim. Even his most devoted followers have criticized some of his more outlandish prophecies. These include the notion that souls once merged with animals to create giant, 12-foot-tall people, or the idea of a giant sun-powered crystal powering the lost civilization of Atlantis, with no evidence to support either claim. Other predictions, like the US finding a death ray in 1958, similar to the one that supposedly destroyed Atlantis, or giant earthquakes ruining Los Angeles and San Francisco in the 1930s, have demonstrably failed to materialize. Edgar Cayce's reputation as a prophet isn't without its blemishes. While some of his predictions have captured the imagination, others have fallen flat on their face. A prime example is his prophesied return of Jesus Christ. Unlike many religions that leave the timing ambiguous, Cayce boldly declared Jesus' second coming for the year 2000. Well, here we are in 2024, and there hasn't been any sign of a divine arrival. Cayce isn't alone in this failed prophecy club. He joins a motley crew of religious leaders and historical figures who confidently predicted the end times, only to be proven wrong. Frank Cherry, a religious leader, Pastor Ed Dobson, a prominent figure in evangelical circles, and even Timothy Dwight, the 18th century president of Yale University, all made pronouncements about the imminent return of Christ that never materialized. One lingering question surrounds Cayce's followers. In the face of these failed prophecies, there hasn't been a clear explanation for why his predictions didn't come true. Do they offer alternative interpretations of his pronouncements? Do they believe the dates were merely symbolic? The silence on this front leaves room for doubt and raises questions about the reliability of Cayce's other prophecies. This isn't the only instance where Cayce's visions missed the mark. Remember his prediction about the US discovering a death ray in 1958, a weapon similar to the one that supposedly destroyed Atlantis? 1958 came and went, and there were no reports of such a discovery. These failed prophecies highlight the inherent difficulty of predicting the future. So, how intense was the support for this man, and how intense was the criticism? Believers versus critics. Even after nearly a century, Edgar Cayce's predictions continue to spark heated debate. His followers view them as prophetic glimpses into the future, brimming with events destined to unfold. Skeptics, however, dismiss them as lucky guesses or mere flights of fancy. Regardless of interpretation, Cayce's work left an undeniable mark on the world. It ignited a firestorm of interest, inspiring countless books, support groups, and a fervent desire to understand his worldview and potential insights into our future. Experts from various fields continue to delve into his work, seeking to unravel the mysteries behind his pronouncements. Was he tapping into some universal truth? Or was he simply an extraordinary mind prone to outlandish lapses of reason? The sheer volume of Cayce's pronouncements, over 14,000 readings, presents a statistical oddity. By pure chance alone, some predictions are bound to align with real-world events. Critics, however, point out that these hits often receive much more fanfare than the misses. Furthermore, Cayce's fondness for vague language peppering his pronouncements with perhaps and maybe is a tactic often employed by fortune-tellers. These ambiguous statements allow people to interpret them as applying to any situation that may arise. Another criticism centers on Cayce's approach to medical readings. He would often receive letters from people who were sick, then enter a trance and attempt to diagnose them. The problem? Sometimes these individuals had already died by the time Cayce delivered his pronouncements. His supporters argue that following his advice while still alive might have saved them. However, a more glaring question emerges. Shouldn't someone have informed him that the person was deceased? If Cayce was truly communicating with spirits or a universal consciousness, it seems strange that these readings only occurred after the person's death. Whenever Cayce's predictions fell flat, there was always an excuse. A prime example is his specific location for buried pirate treasure. Treasure hunters scoured the area, but came up empty-handed. Cayce's defenders blamed the ghosts of pirates or Native Americans, attempting to mislead everyone. This tendency to blame unseen spirits whenever things go awry is a convenient way to avoid accountability. Despite the skepticism, Cayce has his passionate defenders. A key argument in their favor is the accuracy of some of his diagnoses and advice for sick people, delivered despite his lack of formal medical training. Edgar Cayce's enduring legacy stems from a confluence of factors, including specific instances of seeming accuracy and the general public's fascination with the paranormal. A recent poll revealed that nearly half of all Americans surveyed believe in some form of extrasensory perception or psychic ability. This same poll also sheds light on the mindsets of believers and skeptics. Those who scoff at psychics tend to be more analytical and critical thinkers, whereas believers often lean toward emotional and creative thinking styles. Interestingly, the poll further indicated that believers reported experiencing greater happiness and lower stress levels compared to skeptics. The question of whether psychic abilities and religious miracles have scientific explanations remains unanswered. While science can't explain them, there's no denying the comfort they can offer those who grieve, the hope they provide during struggles, and the structure they bring to a chaotic world. Does the supernatural realm exist? That's a question that continues to elude a definitive answer. Most psychics likely operate with a profit motive, preying on the vulnerabilities of those in pain. But Edgar Cayce was different. He never charged for his readings and was genuinely driven to help others. Whether his powers stemmed from something supernatural or just a powerful imagination is irrelevant. What truly matters is that he dedicated his life to service. In today's world, we could certainly use more people like him, individuals who see themselves as part of something larger, not the center of the universe. We need more folks who prioritize looking out for each other. Real or not, the world craves more Edgar Cayces. Ultimately, the question of Cayce's legitimacy as a psychic remains open-ended. There's no definitive answer, and some find comfort and meaning within the belief system surrounding psychics, while others prioritize logic and reason. But have there been others like Cayce throughout the course of history? Other clairvoyants. Nostradamus, the enigmatic 16th century French astrologer, may be long gone, but his cryptic claims continue to be deciphered and interpreted, often to fit current events. For 2024, some Nostradamus enthusiasts point to a quatrain or a four-line verse that mentions a great conflict arising near two rivers and a crowning of a new leader. While interpretations vary wildly, some speculate this could point to renewed tensions in the Middle East or on the Korean peninsula, with a new leader emerging in the wake of a conflict. However, Nostradamus' verses are notoriously vague, and this interpretation is just one of many. Baba Vanga, the blind mystic from Bulgaria, who passed away in 1996, left behind a collection of predictions that extend into the 22nd century. For 2024, some followers point to her prophecy of a cold snap that will grip Europe. While Europe does experience cold winters, it's difficult to verify if this is a specific prediction or a general observation. Additionally, Baba Vanga's prophecies were often relayed through interpreters, and their accuracy is highly debated. Michelangelo, the Renaissance polymath, may be best known for his artistic genius, but he also dabbled in astrology. His most famous astrological work included a series of drawings depicting the future based on his interpretation of the stars. While these drawings are open to interpretation, some have pointed to a specific configuration for 2024 that they believe signifies advancements in space exploration. Given the ongoing missions to Mars and the private spaceflight industry's growing momentum, 2024 could indeed see significant breakthroughs in space exploration. But whether Michelangelo foresaw this is debatable. Sylvia Browne, the American self-proclaimed psychic who passed away in 2013, made numerous predictions that have been demonstrably false. One such prediction for 2024 involved a miracle cure for cancer being discovered. This has not materialized, and the fight against cancer continues with ongoing research into new treatments, but no single definitive cure. John Nelson Darby, this 19th century Irish evangelist, is lesser known than Nostradamus or Baba Vanga, but his followers within the Plymouth Brethren Christian sect adhere to his teachings, including his prediction of Christ's imminent return. Darby specifically pinpointed the year 1844 for the rapture, which obviously did not occur. While his followers have revised the date interpretations over time, some still believe Christ's return is imminent, though they don't offer a specific date for 2024. Did you know Edgar Cayce earned the nickname the Sleeping Prophet because he delivered most of his readings in a trance-like state? Imagine the wealth of knowledge we could potentially unlock if we learned to tap into our subconscious minds like Cayce did. Let us know what you think about Cayce's predictions in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to give it a huge thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.